Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I had a video that got demonetized yesterday, and kind of a bummer, but they reviewed it. And so I published it today, and tomorrow you're going to see this video Saturday. Just so you know, I now probably release a Journey series Saturday night, either that or Sunday morning, depending on what happens here. So there's two videos that are going to be up today on both my channels, and that's why. But I was glad to see YouTube reviewed it within 24 hours because, that's doable. It's not great, but at least it's doable. And here you go here. This was a short video I made. And, I make a lot of spelling errors, but this one's ridiculous, right? Maduna, Madam Expiration Dates, tour, Luxels, awesome. I still haven't fixed it. I left it up here so I could see it. I give myself some leeway with the spelling, and my wife and other people will let me know if I misspelled something, but no one caught this one. And I saw it yesterday. I'm like, oh, that's really bad. But anyways, this is the huge story. George Santos, because of something he said, this guy's going to read one of his texts or messages or whatever it is. And it's epic, and it's so telling. It has become maybe the front runner for the early story of the year because it encapsulizes whatever. Sometimes you just it covers all of these things. The Hunter Biden thing, stuff to do with Trump and the government altogether. So let's get started here.
George Santos back in Washington voting on an unemployment fraud bill, which is wild considering that is part of what he's been indicted for. Santos was arraigned on 13 separate federal charges: wire fraud, money laundering, abusing public funds. The DOJ also alleging Santos spent money that he claimed was for his campaign, but he basically grifted, pocketing it, according to the filing, for personal expenses, luxury designer clothing, credit card payments for his own personal use. Now, these charges come after...
Okay, so that's the story of why this guy is being indicted, but the messages are really the telling part here.
There are months of reports about Santos.
I mean, this is their story, right? Like, as far as I know, the guy doesn't even exist, right? Like, neither does this guy. I mean, whatever. But in terms of the show, this is a big movement.
His lies about his career, his education, his own life. And the tapes that we have as part of this exclusive, the Santos tapes, were recorded by documentarian...
They have Santos tapes.
Blake Zeff. This occurred in January and February this year, so quite recent, quite newsworthy, but before this week's indictment of Santos. Zeff was at one point exploring a possible
So just to keep this in context, this is the same kind of stuff that was on Hunter Biden's laptop, right? They can't wait to show you the stuff for George Santos because he's a Republican, but they still haven't showed you anything to do with Hunter Biden, right? Which is, it makes them more ridiculous than they already are. Like, why are you even wearing a suit and tie and coming on here pretending you're a truth teller when you uncover the president's crackhead son? But that's getting off the point here for now.
Documentary. We should note, as we mentioned in our coverage last night, Zeff also did a completely separate student loan policy documentary that aired on MSNBC. Now, in the new tapes I have for you tonight, you can hear the focus on the money, the grifting.
The grifting, the same stuff. Like, the ultimate grifter is Hunter Biden because he was not even a politician. He was a crackhead. Like, his main pursuit in life was smoking crack and partying. And he got all these cushy jobs selling access to his dad. I mean, the ultimate grifter became a painter, right? This guy's talking about grifting.
Santos wanted to find some way to get money for doing what most politicians,
they're getting them with the photos,
whether they're in office or candidates, constantly do without expectation of any money, which is he wanted to somehow find a payday for participating in a potential documentary that didn't ultimately occur. Journalistically, that would be not how it's done. There are ethics questions here and more. Santos, however, on this new tape you're going to hear for the first time now, was looking for a payday.
So what are they entertaining kind of like monetarily. And look, I don't have a number in my head. Like, the fact that I'm having these are conversations I never in a million years thought I would be having.
It's kind of effeminate.
But when in Rome, let's have the conversations. A lot has changed over the last recycles, so over the last 6 years. So from 18 to now, a lot has changed. The Ethics Committee has allowed so many things, and it's been bipartisan and across the aisle. So I think, this is a different time in Congress where they're understanding that this is just going to be a new way of doing things.
Kaboom. This is huge, right? So what he's saying is both parties have agreed that we can just ignore the ethics rules and we can do whatever we want. That's what he's saying to this guy, right? This guy, Blake Zeff. Now listen to what this guy, Ari Mibler, or whatever his name is, says.
Santos may have just been BSing. He may have been lying to himself, or he may have
Yeah, neither of those things sounds likely.
been BSing. He may have been lying to himself, or he may have somehow got in his head that he really believed that there was a new way, and this is what he would get away with. All of this quite interesting as we report on his.
There's a third option here, or a fourth option, and so he just excused what he said, because Santos just exposed the truth. And how do I know it's the truth? The fourth option, the one that Ari Mibler, whatever. Nobody knows. The fourth option, which is the one that's true, is that what he said was true, that there are new ethics rules, and the Republicans and Democrats have agreed it's looting season. Now, I said this before this election, that whether Trump won or Biden won, they were going to be in charge of the going out of business sale of America, and they were going to loot the crap out of the government because it's that time. It's just based in what the economy looks like, what the future looks like, and that's what they're doing. And we know that from Hunter Biden and Jojo Magoo. We know that from Trump's kids, and we know it from pretty much everybody that's there, and all these bailout bills that they're, the COVID bills and the COVID bailout stuff and the infrastructure stuff and the stuff with the Ukrainian war. It was all ways for politicians to line their pockets, and the military-industrial complex and these other corporate, entities. They're looting what's left of America's. Well, it's not even wealth anymore. It's just debt. It's more debt. They're going to pile all this debt on top of debt and default and screw, future generations and get rid of Social Security and all these things. I've showed you the debt clock, so the national debt clock, but it's more than just that. A lot of what I report here is speculative, or what I talk about here is speculation, my opinion. I'm usually, pretty accurate, but there's some things, I might not know all the details, or might not understand something, or, it's also a connection to the free flow of, divine inspiration. But this is something that I would say is, as much as anything would be fact as what I say here, this is fact. It's looting season, right? And the numbers bear it out. And I'm not the only person saying this. And so George Santos was under the impression, because everyone else was talking about it, that there's no ethics now and you can do whatever you want. In fact, this goes beyond just money. There's just, nobody gets punished for anything anymore, right? Nobody loses their job. Nobody, there's a woman who had an affair with a male and a woman staffer, and she was married. She was a Democrat. I think she was from California, and she resigned. And I'm like, why are you resigning? Nobody resigns. Trump got impeached twice. Biden is, look at how fast they arrested Santos. He was in handcuffs. I didn't even know that he was under investigation. And Hunter Biden, this was this criminal grifting manifesto that was Hunter Biden's laptop that fell into the hands of the New York Post and the FBI, and his dad was elected. It's just crime season, and more than just crime. It's you can do whatever you want ethically. You can have affairs. You can, all kinds of different transgressions that used to get you fired, and it's been like that ever since. It's been getting worse ever since Bill Clinton. And you Trumpers, Trump was just bending the laws, breaking the laws, doing whatever Trump does. He's done that forever. And then there was this agreement, well, we won't get each other, the Republicans and Democrats. We won't prosecute each other, right? We might talk about it. We might use it in political ads, but we're not going to put anybody in jail until this guy, right? But this guy, Ari Mibler, he didn't even ask the question, well, is this true? Like a true reporter would say, well, if what he said is true, maybe we should look into it. Let me just show you what Mibler said again, because he immediately covers it up with three choices. They're all about this guy deluding himself, right? When a real reporter would go, what if this is true? What if they're ignoring ethical rules, which they would know already because they're, in the mix, right? Like everybody knows that's happening. And so this guy just said it. Let's go back to the video here.
This is a different time in Congress where they're understanding that this is just going to be a new way of doing things.
Santos may have just been BSing. He may have been lying to himself, or he may have somehow got in his head that he really believed that there was a new way and this is what he would get away with. All of this.
Okay, so look at this guy, right? He's a reporter, and he's around these lying, cheating MNFers. And he talks about the Republicans being corrupt all the time. Certainly Donald J. Trump, but all of them. And he knows the Democrats are corrupt as well. We all know they're liars. So why wouldn't he say, and maybe he is right. Maybe it's looting season. That's your job, to at least speculate on it. Oh, maybe he's making up with his head. Maybe he's deluding himself. Maybe he's, believes this is actually the truth, or maybe it's the truth, right? And given everything we know about politicians and the corruption, it's the truth, right?
Quite interesting as we report on his indictment. As for the Rome reference, well, I don't know if grifting for interviews was a common practice in Rome. Jurisdictionally, though, it doesn't help you with American authorities. Santos also discussed whether the ethics committee would okay some of the line stretching that he wanted to do and get money.
So I was actually given encouraging feedback yesterday when I spoke to them that it's become a very common occurrence of members selling rights to their stories as politics comes more to the front and center of, the national stage and of, public interest. So it's become a very common thing, and this wouldn't be the first.
Now, these tapes are from the same source that we reported on with Blake Zeff last night.
So, again, what if he's telling the truth? And again, this guy's a liar. Okay, this guy's a pathological liar, but they all are, right? And this makes sense based on what we're seeing. There's been a degradation in morality and ethics in our country.
This exclusive set of tapes that have not gone public before. And we should note, although we, of course, are very interested in the news, and we broke it last night because we thought it was...
They're interested in the news. It's like our job, right?
Newsworthy, it is getting picked up in other print outlets, including the attention and scrutiny on Santos's attempt to crack, as the Daily Beast put it, a, quote, joke about a room full of Jews in newly released audio. You can see some of the other headlines. That's The Forward, which is one of the preeminent Jewish-related newspapers in the country. All of this interesting because one of the other charges against Santos goes well beyond offending people. It goes to him trying to justify a type of public theft. So some of this might just be offensive or scandalous. People can make up their minds. Other parts of it add to the evidence about the mindset of someone who, as of January and February, was talking this way, and as of now is trying to fight to stay out of prison for a whole host of charges that relate to lying and money. Now, here's a new clip where...
So there's never, ever been this in Congress before, lying and getting money for it, right?
A clip tonight I want to play for you where he talks about these benefits that were for unemployed people in the pandemic.
So the way I look at it is they're not understanding. The question is simple. George, why was your income $55,000 in 2020 and why is your income drastically higher? Well, here's the answer to that. We struck a deal in the company so nobody went unemployed and got reduced to like a very basic salary, just so we, as we called it, livable wages in the company, so we can get by. So, long story short, I went from 2019 bringing in $400 and something thousand to, in 2020 my reported income was $55K. It couldn't be more legitimate I actually qualified for unemployment.
That's how he was discussing it on tape. The feds disagree. We are joined now by the documentarian behind these new Santos tapes, the man on the other end of those conversations.
He doesn't look ghoulish at all, right? But let's move on. But this was a big omission. And these guys, the Hunter Biden thing is just looming over them, whether they want to admit it. They don't have any audience. Nobody watches them, blah, 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 right? But it's just looming over them because they're going after Trump and everybody else for these types of behaviors. And the Hunter Biden thing is the biggest story because it's the sitting president, and he's a crackhead, and it's got comic value. It's got human interest. It ended up changing the course of the election. I mean, they can say nothing about election fraud if they don't own up to suppressing a story that would have changed the outcome of the election. I mean, if elections were real, that's how it would work, right? When you find out one of the candidates' son's a crackhead and he sold access to his dad and his dad received money from corporations, foreign corporations, then he's bought and sold on top of being senile and everything else, and there's no way he gets to be president. There's no narrative. I mean, Trump would have had to do something worse, right? Like, Trump would have had to do something much worse than that, and they didn't have anything on Trump of that magnitude. Okay, so let's go to Anderson J. Cooper's. Nobody watches their crappy network, but apparently a few of their small percentage of viewers were upset about the Trump town hall because, why would they give the platform to that crazy, evil man? And Anderson Cooper is going to address it here.
Good evening. Before we begin with tonight's broadcast, I want to say something about what we witnessed at last night's town hall. Many of you have expressed deep anger and disappointment. Many of you are upset that someone who attempted to destroy our democracy was invited to sit on a stage in front of a crowd of Republican voters to answer questions and predictably continued to spew lie after lie after lie.
Exactly. You guys just tell the truth all day long. They tell the truth. This is the truth that becomes legitimized by corrupt governments, corrupt news media, corrupt corporations that own the official story, and they claim that to be the truth, right? When truth belongs to itself, right? The truth is the truth. You can't manufacture it because you claim to be some sort of authority when you're not, right? And these guys are not an authority. They're authority on sucking, but that's about it.
And I get it. It was disturbing. It was disturbing to see and hear that person refer to a black law enforcement officer.
What was disturbing about it? Tell me what was disturbing.
As a thug, an adjective he used many times to describe black men, and called Caitlin Collins, the moderator, nasty, which is what he calls any woman who stands up to him. It was disturbing to hear him speak so highly of QAnon conspirators and insurrectionists.
Yeah, that is disturbing. But who you got us there?
Who assaulted police officers in our democracy on January 6th. And it was awful to hear him spread ridiculous lies about the election. And it was certainly
What about you guys suppressing Hunter Biden? Just address that one time. That you guys suppressed a story that would have changed the outcome of the election. And you're still suppressing it, right? Okay, I just want to edit this in really quickly. I received a comment. I regretted banning the person and not taking a screenshot of the comment because at first I was like, it's a stupid comment. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I want to address it here because I usually don't get people like this person who left the comment to comment here. The person said, "You're a smart guy." When anybody starts something off like that, but not as smart as you, but I'm pretty smart, right? You're a smart guy. Why don't you see what I'm able to see, right? Why are you pushing this Hunter Biden thing? It's Russian disinfo. And after 5 years, there's nothing. So he's attributing, the person was, attributing legitimacy to Hunter Biden's story based on whether or not the government or the media covered it or not, right? We know that the media suppressed it because we saw what happened with Twitter. And, on a deeper level, everything's a lie. It's all just an illusion, right? But in this thing I call the show, the Hunter Biden stuff is more legitimate than the Donald Trump stuff because they're going after Donald Trump with all that they have, even though they're not, because they can't, why isn't he in jail yet? I mean, they just keep on making stories about Trump because they have nothing else. MSNBC and CNN have nothing else. The Democrats have nothing else. Donald Trump is their only, he's the center of their universe. He's their only compelling argument that we're preventing him from being president again. And so you should watch us or you should vote for us or whatever it is, right? But they're not putting Trump in jail, and they talk about him being a criminal all the time. Whereas Hunter Biden was a crack user, which in itself is illegal. He was dealing with drug dealers, and to support his crack habit, he sold access to his father. That's the only reasonable explanation, because why else would anybody pay him to smoke crack, right? And impregnate a stripper named Dallas from Arkansas, which is still an ongoing story. Not only are these big stories for the news media and for the governmental, the Department of Justice, they're also big stories for comedians who didn't say a word about it. And right before the election, it was a huge story that they covered up and suppressed, and they banned the New York Post from Twitter, which had an effect on the outcome of this rigged election. They're all rigged, right, no matter what, so I don't care. I don't think Trump was any better than Biden in terms of, he's more cognitive, but he's his own special nightmare. They're both nightmares. And neither one of them is really the person in control. They're just figureheads and puppets. And so to me, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to cover one, you have to cover the other, right? I mean, if you're going to say that you're legitimate journalists, then you have to cover corruption, and you can't be, partisan, which journalism has become. And it was Fox's fault because they showed that when they became partisan, they were so much more compelling and profitable than being neutral, right? And so that's when MSNBC and CNN went full liberal, and that's what you have now. And it's, it's horrible. Like, it's just unwatchable. It's so remedial and bad. But anyways, let's get back to it here.
Disturbing to hear that audience, young and old, our fellow citizens, people who love their kids and go to church, laugh and applaud his lies and his continued defamation of a woman who, according to a jury of his peers, he's sexually abused and defamed.
I haven't run my Anderson Cooper memes in a little while. Let's do them here. This guy's talking about what's disturbing. Let's take a look at some of the memes I have from him, and especially the laughing. And then we'll ask which is more disturbing, Trump's town hall or Anderson Cooper letting loose.
Can I just take a piece of you? Can I just
Oh, please, yes. All in the family. Yes.
Right, all in the family.
Oh, there.
All right. Coming up next. Are we wrapping out now?
No.
And I think she humped me the day after Madonna has humped you on a stage.
You realize it's BS, but I gotta tell you, I've already bought my ticket for that first trolley to hell. Maybe you find my steely blue eyes somewhat shifty.
Give me one answer and you got 10 seconds.
It goes well, she'd be like, doo-doo. Are you talking about her appearances on the Make America Horny tour? I'm gonna hand it over to Chris. Woo woo! For Cuomo prime time.
I was gonna ask you for one of those.
But I gotta tell you, I've already bought my ticket for that first trolley to hell.
This is the new CNN.
I would have to say, if secondhand smoke counts, yes.
Okay.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you what that answer is going to be. Yes.
I knew it. Where am I? Right. Okay. Where am I? Okay.
It's hell, Anderson, and get used to it.
And I almost got thrown out.
Yes, you did. Okay.
That's on my hit list. You just put that on my
high?
hit list, Andy.
Have you gotten...
Said Boulevard, I have.
Have... Snoop.
That would be a no. That would be a no-no.
Wait. Anderson, stop.
Oh,
Your giggle,
Regina,
I can't take it.
Listen, Andy, you want to see the show, but you don't want to live in my brain.
I do want to live in your brain. Yes. I love that. True. It's so true.
A little bit down, Julio.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
Hey, Anderson.
Hey, Jackie. Oh my God. We love you.
What you drinking, Jack?
Yeah,
well,
Jackie.
what you
Rainer
but you know I got my vodka
Rainer
right
just
here.
said.
You know I got, wait, here's my
Jack, champagne and vodka. Yeah.
This looks better. This is classy.
Oh my God. I'm done. I love this one.
Oh my God. These reunion shows are all the rage. Oh my God.
Yes,
Right now, my jaws are like hurting right here.
Remember, we said we couldn't drink on TV. Remember that? We can't drink on TV.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Jackie,
so right now,
I love you.
I'm on sensory
Jackie, I
overload.
love
I've got
you
things coming in from everywhere.
Hey, Anderson, your skin looks great.
Martini.
Can we play a quick game of Never Have I Ever? Can we play? We're gonna play a quick game of Never Have I Ever. Drink if you've done it, okay? Jackie, I know that. Maybe not. Well, we know what she's been doing, but. What a mystery!
I tell you, this is. I think I'm looking quite fetching tonight.
As good a job as Caitlin Collins did trying to fact check him, it is.
She was great. Caitlin Collins was awesome.
Possible to fact check fully because he lies so shamelessly. Now, many of you think CNN.
The facts are your facts. They're not true facts, right? They're facts that the authority, that is a bunch of lying criminals, has created. You know, like let's call it what it is here.
And shouldn't have given him any platform to speak. And I understand the anger about that, giving him the audience, the time. I get that. But this is what I also get. The man you were so disturbed to see and hear from last night.
You were so disturbed. Like, you didn't have to watch, right? I mean, how many people actually watched it? A million? Like, what was it, right? Most of those were Trumpers.
Man is the front runner for the Republican nomination for president.
No way. That guy?
And according to polling, no other Republican is even close.
None of them.
That man you were so upset to hear from last night, he may be president of the United States in less than 2 years.
No way. What are we going to do?
And that audience that upset you, that's a sampling of about half the country. They are...
No way. Well, we got to censor them, too. We got to get rid of like half the country then. Electing that crazy guy.
Your family members, your neighbors, and they are voting. And many said they're voting for him. Now, maybe you haven't been paying attention to him since he left office. Maybe you've been enjoying not hearing from him, thinking it can't happen again.
Or you just don't watch CNN or MSNBC. Because we're obsessed with the guy.
Investigation is going to stop him. Well, it hasn't so far. So if last night showed anything, it showed it can happen again. It is happening again. He hasn't changed, and he is running hard.
He's running hard like the wind.
You have every right to be outraged today and angry and never watch this network again. But do you think...
Wait, never watch this network again? Right? They're not watching it now, Anderson. Nobody's watching it right now.
In your silo and only listening to people you agree with is going to make that person go away? If we all...
That's your whole business model, right? Is to cut out and misinterpret and misquote and edit it in a certain way and try to make the right look bad, just like it's Fox's business model to do the opposite to the Democrats. And none of you guys cover anything that resembles a truther narrative that's much more comprehensive and a lot closer to the truth, right? That's your business model, bro.
Only listen to those we agree with. It may actually do the opposite. If lies are allowed to go unchecked, as imperfect as our ability to check them is on a
Yeah, they're checking the crap out of lies. This guy he's a lie checker.
In real time, those lies continue and those lies spread. If you're angry or upset, I understand, but
he understands. He's an understanding guy.
You have the power to do something about it. You can actually get involved. You can make a difference, whatever side of the aisle you're on. After last night, none of us can say, I didn't know what's out there. I didn't know what's
What do you mean? Like, there was nothing new from Donald J. Trump. All right, so he wasn't the only guy to cover this.
Well, Donald Trump only submits to interviews with people he thinks he can beat. And he has been right most of the time.
Most of the time he can.
With Jonathan Swan being the most memorable exception. Donald Trump has never done an interview or a town hall with anyone he fears, like, say, Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes, both of
No. That's not why. You think he fears Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes and this guy, right?
whom have had prime time.
And I'm not a Trumper like you guys know, but, the way that's just misinterpreting reality, right? They're attributing something that isn't fact, it's his opinion, right? It's Trump's emotional state that Trump somehow is scared of Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes, so he won't do a town hall with them. I mean, it's, not because of fear. We know what your reality is, and we know that he isn't going to gain any voters from going over and doing a town hall with Rachel Maddow. It's not in his best interest, right? We know what you guys are going to say, just like we know what he's going to say. And to say that's based in fear, that's some emotional reaction he's having inside himself, and that that for a fact because you're some truth teller and a soothsayer and a wonderful interpretation of other people's character and emotional and psychological states. You're the hammer guy, right?
Demanding to know, where's Nancy? Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it?
I don't know.
Where's the hammer? Is it on go up on the other floor? Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering. Call Griffin. I don't care who the to call. Stop the hammering. Empty out the goddamn control room and find out where this is going on. It's either there or out there somewhere. Out of control. Jesus Christ. Crazy sound coming in my ear. This stupid hammering. I told you why I wanted those words cut. It just sucks. It sucks to be out here with this out of control. Any thing can come into my ear at any moment. Things. How do you say this guy's last name? Demanding to know, where's Nancy? Time shows since long before Donald Trump became a politician. Now's the moment where you just might want to close your eyes just for a second and imagine what would have been different with Rachel Maddow on that stage last night with Donald Trump.
He's just taking a crap on Caitlin Collins. The hammer guy. Crap it all over Caitlin Collins.
I was the first person in the news business to call Donald Trump a liar.
Were you? You were. You were the first.
That on television. And I labeled what he was saying about President Obama's birth certificate a lie.
He did. He just did it.
That was on this program in 2011. Many, many years before anyone at the New York Times or CNN or any other major news organization dared to use the word lie in the same sentence with the words Donald Trump.
You were the guy. He just does it. He called him a liar. And since Donald Trump is the only person who lied and is lying in politics or in media or anywhere else, he was right. Like if you called anybody else a liar, you'd be wrong. But Donald Trump, you say he's a liar, you'd be right because he actually is one.
On Twitter then, Donald Trump threatened to sue me for calling him a liar. And on Twitter, I begged him to sue me so I could get him.
Because you're a tough guy.
In an under oath deposition like E. Jean Carroll did. And so it's not surprising that Donald Trump has never done an interview with me on a program that has a larger audience than any show on CNN. Usually this program has triple the audience that CNN has.
That's not something to brag about. Like, you suck and your show sucks, right? So he gets about 1.5 million viewers a night, which is definitely more than CNN, but half of what Tucker Carlson was getting, right? And in the prize demographic, 18 to 54, whatever it is, he gets about 300,000, which is next to nothing for a show that's on every TV cable, household in America, right? And online and on YouTube, right? All these places. And if he was saying like he's better than CNN because of ratings, then you would have to say the same thing about Fox, right? That Fox is better than you because of ratings. Fox is horrible and it crushes you. Tucker Carlson crushed you. He doubled you up every night. And he has more passionate viewers, right?
When I was calling Donald Trump a liar in 2015, when he was running for president.
He got in there first. Like he bought stock early.
Last night's CNN moderator was worried about someone else.
George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country.
Alabama-born.
Wow, he's going after her, right? Because she went after Soros when she was sort of a right-wing leaning person on Fox News. A lot of these people worked at Fox, right? Like Chris Cuomo's worked at Fox. Like, so a lot of these people worked at Fox. And, they changed their tune based in who they worked for.
Caitlin Collins was not yet working for CNN. She was working for Tucker Carlson then at a right-wing website where she fell for the lie that she was never fact-checked on, that George Soros was funding Black Lives Matter.
I think it's an issue also that the Democratic Party needs to address because so many Democrats have openly endorsed Black Lives Matter. And now that we see that this guy who is funding Hillary Clinton is also funding Black Lives Matter, that's a problem, and that's something that Americans should be aware of.
That was 2015.
Look at how smug he is. Like, he's smug. Like just imagine that these guys think that they have something. Like, it's just so remedial. Watching these guys struggle through this, this labyrinth of official story BS and just come out here. They have they have this narrow bandwidth of what they get to talk about, right? Fox, it's Soros. These guys, it's Trump. He's also sporting either nail polish down here and see his thumb, or he might have hit it with a hammer, right?
That was just 2 presidential elections ago. There are people working at CNN right now who knew that that was crazy talk then. And those people all have more experience interviewing presidents and presidential candidates, but Donald Trump chose Caitlin Collins. That is common in these situations with news networks. The candidate, in effect, chooses who the moderator will be. CNN may have said the name Caitlin Collins first before Donald Trump did, but Trump then accepted that name.
Yeah, because the networks want to get him on the show, right? And whatever. Like this guy trying to say that they're better than CNN. Really? It's MSNBC. I've been covering them more lately, and they're much worse in some ways. And this guy is he's not good at his job. He's really, really unlikable. Like epically so. He comes off as arrogant and smug. But the bigger problem here is he is a Donald Trump wannabe. I said this thing about Alec Baldwin. And all these people who really hate Trump, but are very narcissistic and Trump-like. And Trump is more likable. Like, Trump is more appealing. Trump is arrogant, and he's smug and condescending and shallow. And these guys are the same way. They're exactly the same way. I mean, they're like less likable and they have different, idiosyncratic behaviors, but they're the same personality type. Like he's bragging here. He's bragging about how MSNBC is better than CNN. Like Trump saying, "We got all the best people." Like he's bragging about himself. He's talking about he was the first to go out and call Trump a liar. Like all these things, and none of that stuff's worth bragging about. Like he sucks at his job, and these news anchors are just an embarrassment of, certainly to journalists, but humanity as a whole. Like they're bad representatives of what a human being should be like. And this guy's, one of the most arrogant ones, but they're all arrogant. They all have the same kind of personality as Trump. Most all politicians do. Like all these people, they have very similar personality types. And the difference is Trump is more honest with who he is. Like he's dishonest. Like he lies to his followers and he lies all the time, but he's not faking it, right? He's not pretending to be something he's not, right? Like and when he does do it, he does it in such a way that he's so easy to see through and transparent, and he gets away with it, at least with his supporters, and they hate him for it. But they're all the same guy. This guy's just another Trump wannabe. Like his going off. Look at the way he's talking to people on his set, going off like that, the hammering thing, and he comes out and he's like going to talk about Caitlin Collins and CNN, like they're so much less than him and MSNBC when they all suck so bad. I mean, you're the hammer guy. That's all you'll ever be, right? Anyways, one more big story here. And Elon Musk names NBCU executive Linda Yaccarino as CEO. This person now is in charge of Twitter. I wonder if there's any controversy. Elon Musk fans furious. Twitter CEO is World Economic Forum chair. Neoliberal wokest tweeters possible CIO. She is the CEO. You just named it. Right-wingers turn on Elon Musk over new CEO Linda Yaccarino's World Economic Forum ties. So I'm not as shallow as that. I've never heard of this person before. So I'm approaching this with an open mind. Let's see what she believes in here.
Linda Yaccarino here.
Yaccarino. It's Yaccarino.
Class of 1980. We're not here to talk about that.
Okay. Then why did you say it? No one was asking you what year you graduated high school. And you did that to yourself.
We are here to talk about masking up or packing up.
Exactly. Masking up or packing up.
I promise you, we're doing good so far. Just keep your distance, get your hands washed often, get tested often, and wear your mask.
Exactly. It just makes sense. Wear your mask. I'd like to see you wearing a mask yourself there, Linda.
That'll get us closer and closer to normal days.
Seems like she had some sort of stroke there.
We are resilient. We are tough. Keep doing it. And we'll be back at Beaver Stadium before you know it.
I bet you spent a lot of time in Beaver Stadium. I bet you're a regular resident at Beaver Stadium. Mask up or pack up?
Mask up or pack up. We're almost there. We are.
I mean, how do you go into Penn State? Oh, Penn State, which, they've had their problems. How do you go to Beaver Stadium, Linda, if you're masked up? The reason Elon Musk nominated her, my wife and I were talking about this, because she was like, wow, that just seems like a blow to the whole thing that he was trying to do or whatever. The guy is polluting the atmosphere with his satellites and taking people's DNA, and he's a part of the thing. He's part of the club. And I think most of us know that, but he was trying to go in one direction. It seems like this is counterproductive, but he's just doing this to appease the liberals because they were all leaving Twitter and giving him a hard time. His stock went immediately up when he put this person in. And, he gave Tucker Carlson a show. Like Tucker Carlson has his own show now there. And, did an interview with him, and now he's, appeasing the left. And it really just comes down to censorship, and I don't care. Like Twitter isn't I'm not on there really, and I get more video clips and things from them, but in terms of the whole thing, it doesn't matter. Like, people are all upset about censorship, and there's no turning the ship around, right? But he's doing this to appease the left and the corporate world, because this is a business decision, and they're all in the same club. Okay, so I'm going to end this one here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.